Okay, guys, we made it. It's the final episode of the year, and it's been an amazing year. I have a lot to say. I don't have much time. As you know, I like to keep these episodes short and sweet because I'm short and sweet. No, I'm just joking. No, I like to keep these episodes short and sweet. Yeah, I don't know, because sometimes I can talk forever, and but at the same time, I also like to be very direct and to the point. And I feel like it just changes with seasons. Like last season, I found my episodes were longer. I also had guests on a lot of episodes. This season, it was just me. I I don't have a set structure, and I'm trying not to be very rigid with how I do this podcast because I'm being led by the Spirit, and so each episode is what the Holy Spirit gives me, what He puts on my heart, what He tells me to talk about. And so each season is the same thing. Like it could change. Next season could be full guests, could be moving around doing this and stuff. It changes. And so that's just why this season was the way it was. I had plans and I had hopes of like doing these collabs and stuff like that, but did not have the peace or the release to do that. But next year, God willing, that'll be the thing. But this year was cool. This year was a lot of fun. We did start the season a little later, but once it got rolling, we got going, and we're here at the end of the year. Praise Jesus, because doing this podcast amidst everything else that's going on is definitely not by power, not by might, but by His Spirit. Because there's, as you guys know, there was just times where I was like, this is just not happening. So yeah, it's amazing to be here. I'm, in a very festive mood. This is my favorite season. This is like, just because I already love July. Otherwise, I would say like December should be my birthday, but then I also would not like celebrating my birthday, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I just love the holidays, love Christmas. Consumerism really ate with Christmas because you get people like me that are already locked into the holidays. Like, and you make everything festive and family and fun and, very warm and cozy. Love it. But we're not here to talk about all of that. To actually get into the episode, this is how to have your best 2025 yet. And really, I'm focusing on some things that I have identified in my like pre-planning, planning for 2025. If you don't plan for 2025, what are you doing? And planning doesn't mean like you have like a step by step, hour by hour, month by month plan, but having an outline, having a direction for 2025. So hopefully this episode can kind of serve as some direction, some help, some guidance for you as you are going into 2025, as you're praying about what you want to happen, as you're hopeful and you're dreaming and you just want a better year than what this past year was. How your year went. You may or may not know why it went the way it went, but that's a good place to start. How did it go? Why was it like that? And I've been doing a lot of reflection, as much as I try not to be so self-aware all the time. It's part of my job. It's part of my job on this podcast. It's part of my job as a psychologist. So I have reflected a lot to figure out how to make next year and the years after that my best year yet. And I want to share some of the things that I've kind of identified, things that I'm definitely not doing anymore. And there's many other things, but these are just some like key things that I've highlighted. And then things that I am doing in the coming year. One thing, huge thing, is routines/commitments that add no value but are just routine. And that just also means like pouring into a bucket with holes or pouring into something that you're just doing just because. I found that as your responsibility grows, because my responsibility grew again in 2024, that there was just a lot of things that I found myself doing. And I'm just like, okay, I've made this commitment, or I've signed myself up for this thing. Why am I doing it? Is it adding value to myself, to other people? Is it adding value? Like, is it a future investment? Or am I just doing it because I feel obligated to, because I signed up for it? Like, or just even, routines that I have in my life. Like, if your routine is to do this particular event or this particular thing every Saturday, and you're just in a cycle of doing something like this, or you've set up some routine, some system for yourself, but it doesn't actually add any value, but it's taking, and you're pouring a lot of yourself out, even if not a lot, any of your time that is going to, if it's 15 minutes every day, if it's 15 minutes every week, but it's not adding value into your life, like cutting those things out and being very particular about my time, about your energy, about my resources, all these things. Because I really sat and I thought about it, like, sometimes we complain as if we have no agency, as if we have no choice, as if we have no decision making ability in the things that we do and the commitments that we have and the routines that we have. And I really thought about it, that if I can change it, then I should change it. And so essentially, if this routine or this commitment that I'm doing, if I don't have the capacity for it, either I drop it and I let it go, or I have to decide for myself that I'm going to grow in capacity, and I have to make that conscious decision. And so there are many things, and I guess it could also just be like, no more complaining. No more complaining, because I have agency and I have decision making power in my life, that, hey, if this thing is not serving me, if this commitment is taking more than it's pouring back into my life, I have to make the decision to either drop it, to cut that routine out of my life, to drop that commitment, to drop whatever it is, or I have to make the decision to grow and to increase in capacity to be able to meet that commitment, to be able to meet that routine or whatever it is. And this could look like so many things. For example, the past year, I decided that, hey, my job is no longer serving me in terms of what I'm pouring out and what I'm getting in the scale was very unbalanced. And so I had to decide that, okay, it's either you're going to close your mouth and you're going to stay here, and you're going to stop complaining, or you're going to leave, because there was no matching capacity. Like, there was no matching what it was giving back to me compared to what I was getting out of it, right? So I had to make that decision. I can't just sit there complaining. And so that's like, if you're in a job that you don't enjoy, if you're in a career that is not what you hoped it would be, or not what you expected, if you're looking for more out of your job, you're looking for more out of a relationship, you're looking for more out of a friendship, you're looking for more out of life in general, like whatever it is, if you feel like you're just stuck in a city, you're just stuck, you haven't been able to travel to, you haven't been able to have fun, like, make the decision that, okay, I'm either going to stop complaining, or I'm going to cut this thing out so that I'm going to change this job, or I'm going to level up. Maybe I'm going to, do some professional development. Maybe I'm going to develop certain skills so that I can get a promotion that puts me in a position that serves me better, that helps me to learn more. For my job, I, worked a coordinator position, and then I increased my skill, and I, took an opportunity to do a management position. And from there, I realized, like, I'm the type of person that if it's not challenging me, if I don't feel like I'm using my brain enough at work, I'm going to get bored and I need to leave and I need to move on. So there was a point where I'm just like, I feel like I've reached my ceiling. So I was not interested in doing a senior management position because of many other factors. So I'm just like, no, I got to get out of here. I can't sit around complaining, feeling unfulfilled. Like, this is my life. Like, no one else is going to live it for me. I have to make that decision. So that's one thing that I'm for sure being very, very, very stringent about in the coming year, that if I find myself complaining too much about something, then I need to change it. I either need to drop it, or I need to increase my capacity to handle it. For example, for school, When I was in my undergrad, I complained from beginning to end, even though I prayed to get into school. And when I started my master's, like complain, even though like I prayed and it's something that I do enjoy. And so I just realized that like why you miss the opportunity to live in the moment, to really enjoy what you're going through, and to like complaining is such norm in our culture. It's just like you start a conversation with somebody and the first thing, or like the focus of the conversation, is complaining about why everything's wrong. People don't really sit around and like talk about, why things are going good and all the good things that are happening, right? And so I realized that like cutting out complaining is very important to enjoy your year, because you'll get to the end of the year and you'll just remember all the bad things, because that's what you focus on. That's what you meditated on the whole year. And the meditations of your heart is what is going to look like reality, and what also becomes reality. And so for me, whatever is not serving me, anytime I'm urged or tempted to complain, I'm going to pull back and say, okay, if I hate this thing so much and I don't want to do this, why can't I change it? Can I stop doing it? And some things, like, you can't stop doing it. Like, you can't stop being a parent. Like, some parents, like, what stressed you maybe, or, maybe it's your family members. Like, you can't stop being a part of that family. You can't stop being a parent. So you can't cut that thing off. Maybe for some family members, you can, and you should, if you can. Love them from a distance. But like for parents, you can't cut that child off. And so you have to realize that like it is your responsibility, and it is within your power to grow and to develop the knowledge, to develop the emotional intelligence, to develop the skills, to develop whatever it is financially, that you may need to. But that has to be a conscious decision. And it can be daunting to decide that, okay, I'm going to be up for the task now. But that's something that, if you want your year to go better, you want to feel more accomplished, you want to have a smoother year, then that's something that you should consider. That's something that I'm doing, that's for sure. Number 2, media that doesn't help me get closer to where I want to be. So Spotify Wrapped revealed a lot to me about my year. And as I went through my 2024 Wrapped, I obviously had to go through my previous year Wrapped. And you guys have heard me say how like 2023 was such a good year, and it felt very light. It felt very like open, opportunities open, my mind open, my spirit open. I felt like it was like a clear incline, where 2024 was a lot of dips and stuff like that. And my Spotify Wrapped revealed a lot to me in terms of music media, and that the things that I was consuming, like 2023 was very spirit filled, very gospel, very charged, very anointed music, all things like that. 2024 was like, you could see the seasons where things were changing, where, I was dipping into a little here, dipping into, and it's just like, while I'm going through it, you don't realize how either what you're going through is influencing what you're listening to, or what you're listening to is influencing what you're going through, right? And so I realized that when I was very strict about the media I was consuming in 2023, I also wasn't on Instagram. I was on TikTok, but like, which I should have cut down more. But still, TikTok was not as bad because I was on there for a lot of work stuff. But I wasn't on Instagram. Instagram was just like cold to me. We're trying to bring life back to Instagram, but it's just like people don't live as freely on Instagram. And it's very curated, which is like cool, but it's also like, I don't know. Anyways, Spotify Wrapped revealed how strict I need to be about the media I'm consuming, because when you spend, if you look at your like the analytics that your phone gives you, I can't remember what it's called, your screen time that it gives you, and you realize that, hey, if I'm spending 6, 8, 10, hopefully not more hours a day scrolling online, and I'm spending what, maybe 12, 14, or so hours awake, and about 70 to 80% of those hours that I'm awake, I'm consuming media. Wouldn't you think that I should be more mindful of what I'm consuming, because that is going to reflect on my emotional being, my mental being, physically? Like, if majority of your day is spent consuming media, I would really reevaluate what that media is. Some people, you listen to music all day long, like your Spotify Wrapped, like you're at like 100 and something minutes or hours of listening for the year. And so you really think, like, if you're spending that much time doing something, wouldn't you want to be more cautious and more strict with what you're taking in? Like, imagine that you converted that into the amount of time you spent listening to somebody talk. You get to choose like one person. If you spent that much time listening to Andrew Tate talk, every single day you spent like 8 to 10 hours listening to him talk, you're going to start becoming like him. You're going to start thinking like him. You're going to start agreeing with him like that. Your spirit is taking all of that in. Your mind is taking all of that in. And so that really says something about the type of person you're going to become, the type of thoughts you're going to have, type of feelings you're going to feel. And so being very conscious of the media and how impactful media is. Like, and the thing is, marketing and media, a lot of it is psychology. Like, one of my favorite courses in university was social influence, I think it was called. The psychology behind marketing, nothing is innocently done. Everything is very, I don't want to say evil, but they do it with an intent to get you. Everything is done with intent to get you. Everything. And so be very mindful that your well-being is not their concern. And so your well-being has to be your concern in the media that you consume. So that's another thing. My third thing, I think this is, they all kind of melt into each other, is spreading myself thin in relationships. Yeah, 2024, I'm only investing in key relationships. 2025, God forbid, we're not reversing years. 2025, I'm only investing in key relationships. 2024, I think, helped me really see and really identify what those are for this season. Things can change, of course, but what those are for this season. And because I was still struggling with people pleasing traits, I would try and like give myself to everybody the same, or give myself in the way that I thought was like fair and right. And, you don't want to hurt people's feelings, and you don't want to make people feel left out. You don't want to make people feel bad. Sometimes they don't care if they don't care about how you're feeling, how you're doing. And just also, like, you don't have that to give. And even if you do have it to give, like, save it for yourself, save it for another time when someone else that is in those key relationships needs it. And I just don't have the time. Like, I'm trying to partly go back to my old self, where I did not care about relationships, and I did not care about like having all these friendships and stuff like that. But I'm trying to find a balance in between, because we don't want to go back into Miss Avoidance, because she was bad. She was pretty bad. But yeah, definitely investing in key relationships, because it's unfair to the people that are actually meant to be there. They've identified that, they've known that, and they are pouring in to the full extent that they can, and you're giving half. Like, it's very unfair, it's very dishonorable, if you will, to them and to the love that they have to give. And there's just some people that they don't need that much of you in this time, and they don't deserve that much of you in this time. Maybe doesn't mean to say that they don't deserve that at all. They could be getting it from somewhere else, and you're thinking that they need this much of you, and they're good, like they're cool. And now you're burning yourself out. You're tired, you're offended, all these things. So definitely key relationships, 2025. Everybody can get the love of Christ, but not everybody is getting what's in the inner court, and that's okay. And we're going to keep up with that because I want to be alive to see many other years, and people will try and kill you. So, pity party. I've said this before about complaining, but yeah, we're not doing pity parties anymore. I have to remind myself and remind some of my friends that if you catch me like coming with a sad face and stuff like that, and it's not even that deep, like, please wake me up and tell me to stop. Like, don't feed into my pity party. And the thing is, I have some friends that like they will automatically. They know who they are because if I come to them with my sad eyes, they're gonna. And so I need to train them to catch me on this, and I need to train myself more because, yeah, for what reason? Like, that I used to really think life was happening to me. And I used to forget that I had decision making capabilities. And part of it is laziness because this idea that things are just going to happen to you. Like, God has a plan for you. He has a plan for you. He does not decide everything that happens to you. Like, that's why he gave us free will. We decide, we make steps. It's like, Marvel got it right with the multiverse because God's plan is the best for us. However, there are many different pathways and many different ways that we can go. And so this idea that being in a pity, like when you start having a pity party, it's like, I would think that this is God's plan for me and I'm stuck in this and there's nothing I can do and I have to just go through this and I have to, won't me, like, no, get up, own your mistakes, own the consequences of your actions, and then make a decision, move forward. Like, you have decision making capabilities, make a decision, decide what you want to do, learn from your losses, and, also celebrate your wins. Like, the amount of energy I gave to complaining and to pitying myself and woe was me, I can't afford to give that much energy to those things anymore. I need to come out of next year feeling like it was a high, even if there was just one good thing that happened, God forbid. But like, when now, when God does something for me, like every day that it comes to my memory, I got to do a praise dance until my feet grow tired. Like, because I have to put that much energy. You should put that much energy into the things that are going well and into being grateful and showing gratitude compared to the amount of energy you put into complaining, feeling bad for yourself, mourning, all these things, So that's some things that I'm not taking into the year. What I am taking into the year, meditating more. I am going to be meditating more because the amount of things that are going on in the world, you better find a way to find peace. Like, help your therapist out. Please help us out. Meditate. I use the hour of meditation on YouTube. If you are new to meditation, you're unaware about meditation, comment, ask questions. I'd love to, give you resources, talk about it, but meditating and being more mindful, slowing down, pacing yourself through life, through your day. As I said before, like, we consume so much media, so much information at work, as you're driving, as you see ads everywhere. Like, we're taking in so much information and we're storing it. We're not meant to keep all of that in our minds. You're talking to so many people. You're not meant to keep all that information. You have to release. When you eat, you release. Meditating will help you release, will help you clear out a lot of those things. And it's probably like one of the best ways, and a lot of therapy will walk you through this different forms of meditation. I don't follow any of like the new age yoga stuff. I don't do none of that meditation. When I speak about meditation, I speak on, we're beholding the word of God. We're beholding Jesus. We're beholding what he says about us. We're beholding good things, not trying to manifest and lighting candles and doing all that stuff. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. So don't be thinking that's the vibe over here. But meditating, slowing down, just intentionally creating time to be more mindful and clearing my mind, because your girl has like a million and one things going on. I look at it as a gift. I don't look at it as like any mental disorder or anything, but my mind is literally going in different ways. And I believe that is a strength for me, that I'm able to use that to do multiple things and to get multiple things done, and to manage a lot of thoughts and manage a lot of responsibility. However, I need to find ways to balance that. I need to find ways to release and get rid of anxiety and get rid of, you know, some of the thoughts going on. And so meditating is a priority for the year, like daily meditation, weekly meditation, meditating, driving. Sometimes you don't need to be blasting music. Sometimes turn on home, the hour of meditation. That's what I use. Meditate. Let good things fill my spirit and clean out whatever is wrong. Another thing I am doing is testing my preferences / trying new things. I realize that like this idea of preferences, where did they actually come from? Because really, can you say that you have a preference if you haven't like tried multiple things yet? And I really thought about it. I'm just like, I can only say that, okay, this is my preference if I've tried the flavors of ice cream that you have. I prefer this one, actually. After giving some things a test, I prefer this one. But if you haven't tried anything new, you haven't tested your preferences, you haven't gone outside, stepped outside the box, then you just sealed yourself off. Like, you just limited yourself already. And so there's things in like relationships that I'm definitely going to push myself and try to explore. And I feel like I've just not allowed myself to be open-minded, claiming that it's my preference and this is just what works for me. This is just what I know. But that's just all you know. That's all you've ever tried. Especially in my approach to success and dealing with projects, even just, producing something like this podcast. I've had the privilege of producing a lot of a lot of projects in the past year. And actually one of the projects that I'm currently working on, it's a Black art show for the city of Edmonton. It's been great because I'm working with a team of a lot of creatives, and seeing how they all work differently was one of my learning, my things that I want to take away from this experience. And it has really challenged a lot of my preferences, because when you're the person that often leads the projects that you're in, it's what you say goes. When you're not leading, then you have to follow the command of other people. So when I'm following the command of other people, I'm able to see, okay, they decided to do this. I would have done it this way, but they did it this way. Why did they do it this way? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And you'll see how different ways work, because sometimes when you're in a leadership position, you get so like tunnel vision that this is the only way to do things because it works for you. And so I really don't want to get stuck in that mindset. And as new opportunities come, like, I've never done them before, so I need to be able to draw from people that have done them before, draw from their experiences, draw from their wisdom. So that's a huge thing. And then, as I said, in relationships, in dating especially, I've talked about this before, like maybe your type didn't work for you. And I am open-minded in dating, but I also do have like my type, and I'm not talking about my standards. My type and my standards to me are two different things. I used to think that I wanted someone that was pretty similar to me. Not like me exactly, but pretty similar to me. But the more I get to know myself, I'm just like, girl, will you handle that? And second, I'm also just not as, I don't want to use the word strict, but I'm just not as, I think I just realized that that what I'm looking for and what actually works best for me might not actually be someone who's just like me and similar to me, which a lot of the people that I'm close with are like, we're very similar in character and a lot of the way that we do things. But when it comes romantically, I'm just like, I'm starting to realize that that might not be the best thing, is what I'm trying to say. And so, so as it relates to my preferences in the new year, yeah, I'm just learning to not be so like strict with things and to not be so controlling with things, and like it has to look like this and they have to come like looking like this, because I don't know, maybe I'm becoming crazy looking to some people as well. But yeah, I'm just realizing, like, as I've said before, if your type has not worked for you in the past, which mine has not, I won't even get into what that type was, because that's going to be a long story time. I don't know if I'll ever talk about that on here. I don't really like to talk like in too much detail about my dating experiences on here, because I don't want to drag some people. Like, I'm really trying to preserve some people's dignity. And so I say like a few things here and there, but I don't actually get into detail. Like, there's a lot that I could say. I think I'm just learning how to say it a in a very loving way. People like to say that I can be very politically correct, and maybe that's because of where God wants to take me. But yeah, I'm a little cautious with how I say certain things, because I just know that I don't want to transfer a negative image or an idea of certain people or certain groups of people onto those that are watching here. Like, I have a responsibility to, not gather people to say, oh, I hate men, da, da, da. And I've gone through my I hate men phase. Sometimes we go back into it, we dip, and then we come out, the Lord pulls us out again. And then my last thing is growing in discernment. This one came to me because as I've been on TikTok for work, stuff, which I don't really like being on there too much, because there's a lot of voices, a lot of people speaking. You can't curate your feed and who you're listening to as much. But there's a lot of voices on TikTok, on YouTube, of like people saying, oh, discernment. And they've limited discernment to only things that are like obviously spiritual, like discerning a false teacher, a false prophet, or discerning, bad spirits and energy and things like that. But discernment is so much more than that. Like, everything is spiritual. Everything in this life is spiritual. If it's in the physical, it already exists in the spirit. It probably existed it did exist in the spirit before it existed in the spiritual. That's a principle that you should understand. And so discernment covers everything in life. It covers your finances, covers your health, covers your job, in your workplace. Like, it covers everything, right? So it's discerning that, okay, in every situation, what is going on here? Is this just like, if your car is breaking down, is this just repairs that need to be done? Failed to change your oil, like some of us, or is this a spiritual thing? Because sometimes your car has broken down 5 too many times, and it's not just you. So surely you need to look into what's actually going on here. Some health issues. There's some health issues that, yes, it's a matter of, diet. It's a matter of genetics. It's a matter of your environment. And then some, you need to spiritually discern what is happening here. In your workplace, there's some things that, developing some emotional intelligence will help you with. And there's some things that spiritual battles, that boss is a principality and a power formed against you. It needs to be spiritual discerning to know what's going on here. And people have limited, and they've also limited discernment to just being able to see a problem and see what's going wrong. Or actually, let me even pause there. One thing is that people often confuse and don't realize that you can only discern as clean as your heart is, as clean as your conscience is. You can only discern that much. If you continue having you continue to discern, negative energy, negative spirits, everything is negative about people or about situations. Let's take a look first at your heart, because out of your heart, as the Bible says, flows the issues of life. And so you're going to discern as clean as your heart is. If you think that all men are bad, then you're going to always be very cynical when you meet a man, and anything that he does, you're going to discern his intentions negatively all the time. And so a lot of people that are on the internet, and I also think the people that are coming on the internet to tell you people that this is a false prophet, this is a false teacher, and they're telling you that they discern this. Are you discerning them that's speaking? They're telling you to discern this false prophet, but they're not telling you to discern them. Because how can you even trust them as a voice to confirm that for you, right? And so you need to look at the state of your heart, look at the state of other people's hearts. If you're receiving words from them, if you are trusting their discernment, look at that. And yeah, discernment is a huge thing that I think a lot of people in this generation need to grow in. I am focusing on that next year, from now, but especially next year as, the voices become louder, media becomes, more in our faces. And so that's something that I think is really important. And yeah, discerning in all areas of life, knowing, okay, this is something that I can fix by maybe adjusting my finances. This is something that time management will help me with. And hey, this is a spiritual battle. This needs to be escalated to spiritual authority. This needs to be handled through prayer and fasting. This needs to be handled through whatever the means is, being able to spiritually discern and know what is actually going on here is very important for any year that you're going on. And as you're planning, discerning the voice of God, this is supposed to be the last episode of the year. And I don't know, maybe I might come back with another special episode, or we'll just bring it in the new year. But I really want to speak about discerning the voice of God. I've spoken about it here and there on my TikTok, my personal TikTok page. But I want to speak about that more on here, because a lot of people don't know how to discern the voice of God. And I feel like people often overcomplicate it, or it was overcomplicated for you. It used to be very complicated for me. And then once I realized how easy it is to discern the voice of God, I was just oh, okay. And it's like a cheat code. Obviously we can get things wrong, but it's just you're, soaring through life as you're able to discern and as he gives you grace to follow and obey. And so those are a few things that I'm definitely doing in the year, and some things that I'm not taking. And if you want 2025 to be your best year yet, and so on and so forth, these are things that I'd encourage you to do. And I'd actually love to hear from some of you guys, what are some other things that you are definitely not taking into the new year? Put them in the comments, or things that you are doing in the new year that you realize that this is gonna help my new year transform. Put them in the comments. I want to hear. But thank you all so much for rocking with me this season. It's been a great season. I'm happy the way that it's ending, the responses I've been getting, just being able to engage and hear from so many of you. Thank you for those that have been listening for some time, those that just joined, subscribe. We're up on YouTube now. We've been growing on there. We're almost at 500 subscribers. So thank you all. Love you all. Wherever you're from, in Canada, in the States, in Europe, in Africa. I was looking at my Wrapped and I have listeners in so many countries, random countries. And I'm just like, I don't know how y'all found me over there, but thank you for listening. And I hope that we continue to build this community. 2025 is going to be an amazing year for all of us. I truly believe it, that no matter what comes, hell or high water, we're going to get through and we're going to come out on top. And I want all of you to go in with confidence that at the end of the year, we'll have a lot to be grateful for, and we will focus on that. And yeah, so thank you all. Love you all. I did have, something planned for the end of this year, but due to shipping delays with Canada Post on strike, please, Canada Post, whatever your work is asking for, just give it to them. Please. Yeah, some of us we're trying to do, some things. But yeah, it's going to come in the new year. So look forward to that. And yeah, that's all from me. Bye. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. I hope you all relax and enjoy yourselves. So bye.